Welcome to the Nevis Newscast for today, Thursday, February 22nd, 2018. I'm Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. The first in what is expected to be a series of monthly press conferences held by Premier of Nevis, the Honourable Mark Brantley, took place today, Thursday, February 22nd. Here is more in this report.
The Premier began the hour-long discourse by making reference to an accident involving cricket icon El Camino Willett.
Well wishes to El Camino Willett and the family of Willett. We know that he was involved in an accident at the park, and we gather he suffered some injury. And so I want to extend to him our heartfelt sympathies on his injury and wish him all the very best for a speedy and fulsome recovery. And I want the family to understand that this government cherishes and values Willett's contribution, and that we are and stand ready to do whatever we can and are called upon to assist. And so we ask for the nation's prayers for El Camino Willett for a speedy recovery.
Premier Brantley also made a number of announcements.
Mrs. Helen Lewis has joined our team as legal advisor. Mrs. Lewis replaces Mr. Colin Tyrrell. Colin Tyrrell has been named as Special Advisor in the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. I would also wish to announce that Mr. Stedman Truss has been reappointed as Cabinet Secretary and now serves also in the capacity of Senior Advisor to the Office of the Premier. Mr. Mervyn Hanley, whom you might see around here, always has a camera pointing at somebody, and the THG, they have been retained by the administration to provide press coverage of the administration generally and to the office of the Premier in particular. Mr. Frank Evelyn has been tasked to chair NEVLEC, and the other members of the board shall be published in due course.
He also gave updates on ongoing projects by the Nevis Island administration: the water taxi pier, the Newcastle police station, government house, geothermal development, the Treasury reconstruction project, Mondo track, TVET enhancement project, integrity in public life legislation, matters with regard to the public service, and the 30% increase in water rates proposed to be implemented as of April 1st, 2018. The Premier also responded to reports indicating that the automated teller machine ATM, which was stolen from the airport, had been found.
I'm happy that the police have been able to recover this machine, and it is my hope that they can follow whatever leads they might have and apprehend the people who would have been responsible. Insofar as security, I think we have beefed up security generally at the airport, in terms of CCTV and in terms of actual bodies there providing security. I think an officer is based there.
I'm Donis Wilkins-Keynes reporting for the Nevis Newscast.
As noted in the Nevis Island Administration's throne speech, the government intends to schedule monthly press conferences to interact with the island's robust media. A delegation from St. Martin's Princess Juliana International Airport is expected to visit Nevis tomorrow, Friday, February 23rd. The delegation will be meeting with the Nevis Tourism Authority along with representatives from the Ministries of Tourism and Finance, as well as the General Manager of the Nevis Air and Seaports Authority.
They're coming here to Nevis to essentially talk to us about the recovery of the airport in St. Martin, their advancement in operations since the hurricane that damaged the airport, and to also talk to us about the future of connectivity between the airport and the island of St. Martin and the Vance W. Amory International Airport and the island of Nevis.
According to the CEO of the Nevis Tourism Authority, Greg Phillip, the visit will be an important one.
Nevis is also part of the Air Service Development Committee that is formed and headed by the Princess Juliana International Airport. Our main focus with and on that committee is really to try to enhance the Princess Juliana Airport as a hub for us here on the island of Nevis and the other neighboring islands, just to make sure that that airport is of good service to us. Many of the international flights that are coming from places like Canada and also Europe on a regular basis do carry passengers, tourists and otherwise, for islands like Nevis. So the connectivity between that airport and here via airplanes like Winair and others are very important. So this meeting is a very significant and important one for us to have, so that we can see how soon they would be back on stream, how soon they would be back to full operations and can really begin to benefit the island of Nevis in the way that they have been in the past.
The delegation from St. Martin will also be visiting the Vance W. Ambry International Airport and taken on a tour to give the visitors an idea of what Nevis has to offer. 4 divisions were among 8 honorees who were recognized for their stellar contribution to different sectors of society at an investiture ceremony held under the patronage of His Excellency Sir Tapley Seaton at Government House on St. Kitts on Thursday, February 21st. Arthur Evelyn was awarded the Companion of the Star of Merit for his contribution to public service and community activism. Evelyn has served the business community for many years as a registered pharmacist and opened his drugstore in 1946. He has served extensively in community life, having been a founding member of the Nevis Turf and Jockey Club, an active contributor and member of the Mental Health Association, Culturama, the Lions Club, the Blind, Light and Visually Impaired Society, and the St. Paul's Anglican Church Vestry. The Medal of Honor was awarded to Alvis Dyer for her contribution to education and community service. Dyer had a 41-year teaching career in the Federation. She also served as Vice President of the Nevis Cooperative Credit Union and as a Commissioner of the Nevis Girls Guide. The Medal of Honor was also awarded to Samuel Powell for his contribution to agriculture and music. Powell worked as a technician at the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, from 1988 to 2000 and as director from 2000 to 2006. Powell is also a musician and has played in many bands in Nevis. He also played the organ at the Gingerland Methodist Church for 49 years. He is a member of the GEF Small Grants Program, which seeks to assist groups to formulate and implement community projects. The Medal of Honor was also awarded to Elmo Liebert for his contribution to education and public service. Liebert served in the Ministry of Education and Agriculture for a combined period of 39 years. The other honorees who were awarded the Companion of the Star of Merit were Jack Kramer for his contribution to commerce and public service, Agnes Morton for her contribution to education and voluntary service, Calvin Faria for his contribution to education and public service, and Melvin Edwards for his contribution to culture and local, regional, and international credit unions. Still to come.
In essence, what we're doing on this project, what you're doing through the CDB funds, is to upgrade the secondary schools.
The details after this break. Welcome back. Work will commence in 2018 under the Technical and Vocational Education and Training TVET Enhancement Project. The project includes the renovation and expansion of the multipurpose center at the Charlestown Secondary School and the construction of a technical education facility at the Gingerland Secondary School. The project, when completed, is expected to enhance the vocational training of residents and make them more competitive in the job market. The project has been funded by the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, to the tune of some $8 million.
The project is in a second year of implementation. Some slight delays, but still on track to achieving all of the outputs in a timely manner. In essence, what we're doing on this project, what you're doing through the CDB funds, is to upgrade the secondary schools, AVEC in St. Kitts, CFBC, but also the multipurpose center here in Nevis, to bring them up to Caribbean vocational qualification standards, so you can offer CVQ certification levels 1, 2, possibly 3 here in Nevis by 2020. In addition to upgrading the facilities and equipping them, we're also providing training for TVET instructors and also doing a range of other activities to provide the kinds of resources so the students can be properly trained and certified.
Education Specialist Dr. Martin Baptiste and Civil Engineer Stephen Lawrence form the core of the CDB team that is supervising the project. They gave a progress report on the project to the Premier Honorable Mark Brantley on Tuesday, February 20th.
And you have a number of persons who are in the society and the economy who are highly skilled but they're not certified. And so by the end of this year, we're pushing your project team here in St. Kitts to implement what is called assessment of prior learning. So your mechanics and carpenters and furniture makers and seamstresses who are highly skilled but have no certification can be assessed, and based on an assessment can be certified. So in addition to demonstrating the expertise in the work that they do, they can now have the documentation that says that they are certified to offer those services.
Junior Minister of Education, the Honorable Troy Liburd, noted that the TVET Enhancement Project means a lot to the island of Nevis.
For, too long we've had persons who have gone out into society not having that piece of paper to say that they are skilled in whatever trade they perform. So something like this TVET program is definitely welcomed, and I'm pledging the full support of the Ministry of Education to getting the best possible project done.
Other Nevis Island Administration representatives present were Junior Minister of Education, the Honorable Troy Liburd, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Kevin Barrett, Permanent Secretary in the Premier's Ministry, Wakely Daniel, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Colin Dorr. Consultant Lester Blackett was also present. A ceremony was held today, Thursday, February 22nd, to celebrate 15 years since the opening of the Division Heritage Village. Benicia Liburd attended that ceremony.
The Division Heritage Village was the brainchild of the late Honorable Malcolm Gishard, who was honored posthumously today for his outstanding work in keeping the history and culture of Nevis alive. His widow, Mrs. Yvonne Gishard, was given the opportunity to do the unveiling of the portrait of her late husband, which is stationed at the entrance of the facility. Premier of Nevis and Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Mark Brantley, in delivering brief remarks, spoke on the legacy of the late Honorable Malcolm Gishard.
This occasion for me is symbolic in many ways. It celebrates 15 years of the establishment of this facility. And I want to thank Ms. Patricia Thompson, whom I see here. She manages the facility day to day. I also want to thank all the staff here. And we've heard much said about the man that we refer to as Fong, for his transformation of the grounds here. This administration has recently spent some money here to try and restore some of the structures. And this, we have to really sometimes put ourselves in the minds and in the shoes of those who have gone before. Imagine, if you will, 15 years ago, that there was a man called Malcolm Gishard who had the vision to establish something such as this. He had the understanding that these youngsters here, who are in the primary schools, and therefore none of whom would have been born yet at that time, that they must have something that they can look to and which will give them an appreciation of what is their history.
Minister Brantley implored persons to aspire to leave a legacy.
You must be inspired by the work of others who have gone before and aspire to ensure that when you are gone, as all of us must go at some point, that we leave a rich legacy behind. And if you're privileged, as one of our residents here is privileged, to live to 101, it is my hope that all those 101 years would have been in the service of others. Because as we say, and as I believe it is true to say, it matters little how many riches you acquire, how many cars and homes you buy, how big your business is or your bank account is. At the end of the day, you're only remembered by your service to others and your contribution to the development of your country. And that is why we can celebrate someone like Malcolm Gishard today, celebrate his vision, celebrate his legacy, because it is something where I believe in another 100 years from now, if the Lord has not yet come, people will still speak of Malcolm and his contribution.
The brief ceremony, chaired by Tourism Education Officer Dawson Otley, received remarks from Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, John Hanley, presentations from the Nevis Cultural Development Foundation, who had students from the Joyceling Library Primary and the Elizabeth Pemberton Primary Schools taking part in the clown and masquerade dances. The invocation was done by Reverend Malama Lawrence, and the national anthem was rendered by Youth Junior Minister of Tourism, Devon Cornelius. The vote of thanks was delivered by Office Manager of the Nevisian Heritage Village, Patricia Thompson. I'm Freddie Celab reporting for the Nevis Newscast.
That concludes this edition of the Nevis Newscast. I am Bronte Swanston Hendrickson. Thank you for viewing.